Nobody tells you this. But getting wealthy doesn't feel the way you think it will. There's no alarm that goes off. No text message. No moment where you wake up and suddenly feel rich. Most people who are quietly building real wealth right now don't even realize it's happening. They're too close to it. They're still checking prices at the grocery store, still driving the same car, still living a life that looks, on the surface, exactly like it did 2 years ago. But underneath the surface, something has shifted. And if you know what to look for, you can actually see it happening, sometimes before the person living it even notices. Here are 5 signs you're quietly becoming wealthy, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. Sign 1. You've stopped needing permission to not spend. The first sign is quiet, and it shows up in a moment that seems too small to matter. Someone invites you out. A dinner, a trip, a night you'd normally feel obligated to say yes to. And for the first time, you say no. Not because you can't afford it, but because you genuinely don't want to. And here's the part that matters. You don't explain yourself. You don't say, I'm trying to save up. You don't say, money's tight right now. You just say no, and you let the silence sit there. Most people spend their entire lives explaining their financial decisions to other people, justifying why they didn't buy the thing, why they're not going on the trip, why they ordered water instead of a cocktail. That explaining is exhausting, and it's rooted in a quiet fear that people will judge you for not spending. When you stop needing permission, when no becomes a complete sentence, that's not a small personality shift. That's your relationship with money changing at a level most people never reach. It doesn't feel like wealth. It feels like confidence. But confidence about money, without needing to explain it to anyone, is one of the earliest and most reliable signs that something real is building underneath. Sign 2. Your net worth moves without you doing anything. The second sign is harder to notice because it happens in silence, usually late at night, while you're doing something completely unrelated to money. You check an account, not because you're worried, just out of habit, and the number is different than you expected. Not because you added money, not because you worked an extra shift. It just grew on its own, while you were doing laundry, or sleeping, or having an ordinary Tuesday that had nothing to do with finance at all. This is the moment most people miss, because it doesn't feel dramatic. There's no proof of effort attached to it. You didn't do anything today, and the number went up anyway. That's compound growth. That's your money finally starting to work independently of your labor. And it is one of the strangest transitions a person goes through. Because for your entire life, money has only ever moved when you moved. You worked, you got paid. You didn't work, nothing happened. The first time your money grows without your effort attached to it, something shifts in how you see the whole system. You start to understand that wealth isn't just about how hard you work. It's about how long you let money sit somewhere it can grow without you. If your net worth has started moving, on days you did nothing, that's not luck. That's the machine you built finally running on its own. Sign 3. You think in years, not paychecks. The third sign shows up in the way you plan. For most of your life, your financial horizon was exactly as long as your next paycheck. Bills were due. Money came in. Money went out. The unit of time you thought in was 2 weeks, maybe a month if you were disciplined. At some point, without really noticing it happen, that horizon stretched. You stop asking, can I afford this right now? And start asking, does this fit where I want to be in 5 years? You stop reacting to your bank balance and start planning around a number that doesn't even exist yet. A number that's still years away, built slowly, invisible until it isn't. This shows up in small ways. You don't panic when the market dips, because you're not planning to touch that money for a decade anyway. You don't chase a slightly higher paying job that would mean giving up stability, because you're thinking about where you'll be at 50, not just next month. People around you might even call this boring, predictable, unambitious. What they don't see is that thinking in years instead of paychecks is one of the most reliable indicators of wealth building quietly in the background. Because wealth has never rewarded people who think 2 weeks at a time. It rewards people who can hold a thought for a decade. Sign 4. Money stopped being an emotional event. The fourth sign is subtle, and most people don't notice it until they compare their current self to who they used to be. There was a time when checking your bank account gave you a small spike of anxiety. A late bill made your stomach drop. An unexpected expense felt like a crisis, even a small one. $100 here, $200 there, each one hitting you emotionally before you even did the math. At some point, that stopped. Not because nothing bad happens anymore. Bad expenses still show up. Bills still arrive. But the emotional charge attached to them quietly disappeared. You see a number, you process it, you handle it, and you move on. Without the spike, without the dread, without the sleepless night replaying it. This is easy to miss because it feels like nothing. It feels like the absence of a feeling, not the presence of one. But emotional flatness around money is actually one of the clearest signs of financial security building underneath the surface. Anxiety about money is what happens when your resources are close to your obligations. When that gap widens, even quietly, even slowly, the anxiety fades first, long before the bank balance ever announces it. If money has quietly stopped being able to ruin your day the way it used to, that's not numbness. That's your financial foundation getting wider than you've noticed yet. Sign 5, you start protecting time more than money. The 5th sign is the one that surprises people the most, because it seems backwards. For most of your life, you protected money and spent time freely, working extra hours, saying yes to things you didn't want to do, staying somewhere longer than you should have, all because the money mattered more than the hours. At some point, that flips. You start guarding your weekends the way you used to guard your paycheck. You say no to overtime you would have jumped at 5 years ago. Not because you don't need the money, but because you've realized time is the actual scarce resource, and money was never the real goal. Money was always just the tool. This shift is one of the clearest signals that real wealth is forming, because it means you've stopped treating your hours as infinite and your dollars as precious. You've flipped it. And people who are still early in their financial journey almost never do this. Because when money is genuinely tight, you don't have the luxury of protecting time. You protect the thing that's scarce, and for most people early on, that's money. When you find yourself saying no to money in order to protect your time, that's not laziness. That's a signal that, underneath the surface, you've already built more financial cushion than you're giving yourself credit for. The truth about all 5. Here's what ties all 5 of these signs together. None of them feel like wealth while they're happening. There's no single moment where you look at your life and say, I've made it. Wealth doesn't arrive as an event. It arrives as a series of quiet shifts, in how you talk about money, in how your accounts move without you, in how far ahead you're willing to think, in how little your bank balance controls your emotions, and in how protective you become of your time instead of your dollars. If you recognized even 2 or 3 of these in your own life right now, you are almost certainly further along than you feel. The reason it doesn't feel like progress is because you're living it one ordinary day at a time. Nobody feels the compound curve bending in real time. You only see it when you stop and actually look back. So look back. Compare who you are with money right now to who you were 3 years ago. Not the number in your account, but the way you think, the way you react, the way you plan. If that person has changed quietly, without a single dramatic moment to point to, that's not nothing. That's what quietly becoming wealthy actually looks like. If this resonated with you, subscribe to The Money Man for more real, honest stories about the psychology of money and what building wealth actually looks like. Not the version social media shows you, but the quiet, unglamorous version that's actually true. Because the version of you 5 years from now is being built right now, in the ordinary days you're not even paying attention to.